Hey everyone, it's Colin. How's it going? Not too long ago, I picked up a Game Boy Micro that was in good condition except for one problem. Its removable faceplate wouldn't stay latched. It's a tricky repair, but with some spare parts and a bit of patience, I got it sorted. Stick around and I'll show you how I did it. The Game Boy Micro is a pretty cool console, basically a much smaller backlit Game Boy Advance. They aren't exactly rare, but they're not common either, so they tend to hold a decent value. When I found one that was in really good shape, except for that whole faceplate thing, I couldn't pass it up. The Micro's faceplates came in different designs and were meant as a fun way to customize the console. They clip to the body on the left side and are held down by two latches. To remove a faceplate, you were supposed to use a special tool to release it. But if you didn't remove the faceplate correctly, it could break one or both of those latches. Unfortunately, the latch assembly isn't a separate part on its own, and getting access to it involves disassembling the entire console. I ended up finding another Micro on eBay for $30 that was being sold for parts. It was said to not power on, but it looked like its latches were intact. I tested it when I got it, and sure enough, it didn't work. Since repair parts for the Micro are difficult to find at best, I opted to simply switch parts between the two systems. I started by disassembling the parts unit. I removed its faceplate by pressing in the two holes with the pointy end of a spudger, but a pen would probably work too. The faceplate popped up so I could lift it off, and then... damn, this is pretty nasty. I'll have to get this unit cleaned up once it's all apart. Next, I loosened the screw on the battery cover, then slid it off. The Micro uses a small rechargeable lithium-ion battery, and I needed to disconnect it next. But what the hell, hot glue? What happened to this Game Boy? Maybe this is why it doesn't power on. I then moved to the two small tri-wing screws on the right side. These are very small, so be sure to use the correct size screwdriver, which someone before me didn't have as one screw was already chowdered up, but I still managed to remove it. There are two more like it on the top that I needed to take out as well. Inside the battery compartment there were two more tri-wings that I removed, though these are bigger and easier to work with. After that, I was able to lift off the back metal cover. This Micro has definitely seen a rough life. Its internal water indicator has been tripped. This plastic frame was next to come out after removing 3 Phillips head screws. Then I could take out the shoulder buttons and volume rocker. On to the last few screws. 3 were near the D-pad and 1 was to the left of the metal shield. Then I could pick the whole unit up and separate the front panel from the logic board and screen. I found that I could simply maneuver the screen through its opening instead of needing to disconnect it. This frame is the part I needed to replace because the front panel latches are built into it. But first I got all these pieces cleaned up because they were downright gross. While they were drying, I disassembled my good Micro the exact same way. So then it just came down to putting it all back together, but using the good frame piece instead. It's pretty much the opposite of taking it apart, but I learned a couple of tricks along the way. I put the buttons and speaker back in the frame, then dropped in the screen and logic board. I tucked the little button board back in, then replaced the metal shield. I had to flip it over and hold it all together, then put the select and start buttons back in, followed by the power switch. I lowered the front panel down on top of this, then kinda hinged it into place from the bottom. Once it was on, I could flip it over again and everything was in place. I got the screws put back in, then moved on to the rear frame. The volume rocker has a post that fits into this spot to hinge on. Then I reinstalled the shoulder buttons and put the frame back in. Almost done. I got the rear panel back where it belonged, then reinstalled the remaining screws. This was the good console, and its screws weren't stripped at all, so that made things much easier. Then it was just a matter of reconnecting the battery and reattaching its cover. The faceplates that came with both consoles were a bit scratched up, so I picked up an aftermarket replacement at a local retro game shop. Turns out that the quality of it was really poor. The original faceplates have screen windows that are nicely transparent, but this replacement one looked really hazy. I decided to stick with the original. And ultimately, all of this work was a success. The faceplate latches perfectly now and stays in place. The scratches in it are a bit of a bummer, but I'm sure I'll find another original replacement one someday. Remember that messed up battery in the parts unit? Out of curiosity, while reassembling it, I tried connecting my good battery, and the console worked just fine. After everything it's been through, it wasn't even defective to begin with. And that's great because replacement batteries are common and cheap on eBay. It's unfortunate that Nintendo built those latches into a part that's difficult to replace, let alone designed them in a way that made them prone to break. That said, the Game Boy Micro is a seriously small handheld console, and space inside is very limited. But for the price of a part system and about an hour's worth of work, I think the results are well worth it. I now have a Micro that's in great shape and plays perfectly, along with a working spare. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at thisdoesnotcomp, and as always, thanks for watching.